Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather, first day of October 2020. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, hosting today's show. Up first on the hazardous weather graphic, we've got a watch area there on the western Kenai Peninsula. That's a flood watch for the Kenai Lake, Kenai River area. That's out, actually doesn't kick into effect until Friday night through Saturday is the watch period there. And that's due to the heavier rains earlier this week and additional rainfall expected moderate to heavy over the next couple of days. So the potential for flooding is there. Not quite a warning yet, so it may not occur, but potential for flooding is enough for a watch. Again, for the Kenai Lake and River, and that's for kicking in tomorrow night, Friday night, and then through Saturday. And from there, no other watches, warnings, or advisories out around the remainder of either interior Alaska, Bering Sea, Aleutians, or the Panhandle. So moving on to satellite imagery, you can see a band of moisture pushing northward there toward Kodiak Island, bringing increasing wind and rain along with it. With the main low center still well to the south, but good southeast flow pulling the moisture there off the chart, or off the picture there, northwestward around that upper level high over western Canada that's nosed into the eastern interior and brought mostly sunny skies there today, with temperatures rising to near 70 degrees in the Tanana Valley in some locations, with pretty mild temperatures over the remainder of the state. Nice day over the Panhandle there with some clearing and mild temperatures. Out in the Bering Sea, a lot of clouds, a couple of weak systems out there, one near the Pribilofs bringing areas of clouds and lower visibilities at times and light rainfall amounts. And it kind of improves there over the Aleutians, western central Aleutians there, and a band of moisture just to the south though of the western Aleutians. And on the chart today, you can see low pressure near Nunivak Island, and that producing kind of a widespread area of light precipitation, low clouds, fog, and drizzle. Wind's not much of a factor, a little breezy, but nothing serious. Some showers over the Alaska Peninsula. And then we've got the increasing gales coming into the Kodiak Island area and southern Kenai Peninsula with the good rainfall amounts, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches falling fall here expected over the next 24 hours into the southern Kenai Peninsula, but that lightens up as you head north and becomes a little more showery into the the Susitna Valleys and over the Cook Inlet area, especially in the downslope areas from the Kenai Mountains and the Chugach there. But kind of gusty on the southerly winds in the Copper River Basin today, and winds diminishing. The advisory's out for the eastern Alaska Range ending now as the winds diminish. And there's a mostly clear skies, or a good amount of sunshine with the mild temperatures, again pushing up near 70 in the Tanana Valley today, and about the same pattern on down the southeast coast. And there's some good high pressure there, 1,029 millibar just east of the border, millibar high. And then up to the north, some light areas of mixed rain and snow showers over along the Brooks Range, locally the North Slope, but nothing very heavy at all. And looking at tonight's forecast, maybe some light snow showers up along the North Slope, but nothing really significant at all. Stays dry over the interior, winds fairly light. And for the southeast coast, not too bad, high pressure holding there for the most part. And then moving on to tomorrow, we've got low pressure pulls back from Kodiak Island into the southwest interior. Around Togiak Bay, look for moderate heavy amounts of rain there for the Kenai Peninsula and the North Gulf Coast. Heaviest looks like it'll be on the western North Gulf Coast, but even the eastern areas poured over to Yakutat will get a good shot of rain, and some solid rain moving into the Panhandle, that weakening front just a trough tomorrow. The periods of light rain and fog will progress all the way to southern Dixon Entrance, and it'll stay fair, another fair and mild day over the central and eastern interior with temperatures in the 60s again, some sunshine. Be pretty windy with that low pulling up northward there. South central Alaska could see gusts 60 miles per hour through the mountain passes. So a pretty windy day with rain heavy at times, especially along the North Gulf Coast. Becoming showery for Kodiak Island, winds diminishing, but not ending completely. Enough gradient there for gusts 30 miles an hour, so 35 throughout the day. And the Bering Sea troughs moving southward, but could be some clearing around the Pribilofs and the central Aleutians. But rain and fog all the way up to St. Lawrence Island, and then very slight chance of some mixed precipitation on the Arctic coast or the Brooks Range. Not too bad up that area, up that way as well. And moving on to Saturday, we've got another trough. Keeps occasional light rain going along the North Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, and showers over the central and western interior areas with an elongated low pressure trough there from the Seward Peninsula on down across the Pribilofs and toward Adak and Atka. Look for some light rain, fog, and showers associated with that system there. And northerly winds on the back side of that, getting a little gusty, maybe 15 to 30 miles an hour for western St. Lawrence Island, Gamble. And that should stay west of the Pribilofs. You're kind of in the light wind zone there, right under the trough axis. And then kind of northwesterlies, anywhere from 15 to 30 miles an hour for the central western Aleutians, with showers, passing showers and rain and fog periods there. Could be some brief clearing as well for the Fox Islands. Not too bad, risk of a shower, otherwise partly to mostly cloudy. And the Alaska Peninsula, same thing, chance of showers with some clouds. Could be some clearing over Bristol Bay there. And on the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, say from Port Huyden to Pilot Point, maybe even King Salmon, could see a little bit of clearing of that southeast flow and a little bit of downsloping with the showers backed up on the Pacific side. Showers for Kodiak Island, and showers tending to taper off and end over the southern Panhandle, but light rain and showers persisting as you head north there, getting a little more lingering a little longer. And then the eastern interior, again, probably not as mild, but still dry with some sun from the eastern Alaska Range, Northway Toke, up across the Eagle into the central Tanana Valley. Shower chances increase there over the central interior areas, but the North Slope Brooks Range is looking pretty good with some clearing, and most of the moisture staying off the Arctic coast and then catching the northwest coast and interior areas with light with winds, again, not too bad right under the trough axis there. The stronger winds will be over the Russian Far East there out of the north. And for lows for Friday morning, looking not too bad, mid to upper 20s for the Brooks Range into the eastern Arctic coast, with lower to mid 30s for the western Arctic coastal areas. Otherwise, much milder as you get south of the Brooks Range there, Kotzebue Sound in the lower 40s, mid-40s southern Seward Peninsula, lower to mid-40s, or mid-40s, flat out mid-40s there for the southwest interior, Kuskokwim Delta, right up the river valleys there into the Kuskokwim Valley areas, mid-40s for McGrath, Nikolai, and Sleepmute. Mid to upper 40s south central Alaska, staying pretty mild here for early October, near 50 for Kodiak Island. Mid-40s to lower 50s for the Panhandle, to 50 to 55 over the southern southeast coast. And up in the Tanana Valley, lows Friday morning pretty mild, lower to mid-40s, well above freezing. A little closer to freezing there, Northway Toke to Eagle, Fort Yukon. Otherwise, moving on to the highs for tomorrow. Back into the 60s up over the Tanana Valley there. Could be mid-60s. Otherwise, definitely into the 50s with mid to upper 50s, 55 to 60 for the Kuskokwim Valley. Mid-50s south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula area, and lower to mid-50s Prince William Sound and the North Gulf Coast. Southeast coast, 50s to lower 60s. And a little cooler out over the Bering Sea with upper 40s in the forecast for the Pribilofs, as well as Adak at 49, but Atka looking for a high of 45. And the Alaska Peninsula, upper 40s, and then gradually warming into the 50s. You head up toward Bristol Bay with King Salmon, Iliamna, Pedro Bay areas looking at highs in the mid-50s. And then for Saturday morning lows, milder yet, especially up on the Arctic coast, just getting down to near freezing, and that's about it. Gone are the 20s. And upper 30s to lower 40s in the Tanana Valley. They're kind of a spread depending on your elevation and whether it's windy or not. You can see the 47, that's probably Delta Junction with some breezy conditions going there. And for the south central Alaska areas, lows in the lower to mid 40s, with the Panhandle looking at lows in the 45 to 52 degree range. And for the highs on Saturday afternoon, cooling off up over the eastern interior with increasing clouds, especially the central interior with the shower chances moving in. So look for highs 50 to 55. Not too bad for this time of the year. And still back up to near 60 in the Fairbanks area. Otherwise, 55 to 60 for the southeast coast, mid-50s south central Alaska, Kodiak Island, near 50 for the Alaska Peninsula. And also for the central Aleutians, the Arctic coast looking at highs in the upper 30s. The same goes for the North Slope as well, and near 40 along the Brooks Range.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on into flying weather for tomorrow morning, we've got IFR, North Slope, and much of the Arctic coast, and IFR also from the Bering Strait down across St. Lawrence Island, St. Matthew Island, and then southeastward across the Pribilofs, another zone of IFR there along the southwest coast, Nunivak Island to Cape Newenham, down to the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, the Aleutians, southern Bering Sea, marginal VFR pushing up across the southwest interior, Bristol Bay to the southern Kuskokwim Valley, some IFR along the western Alaska Range, but then VFR, northern Susitna Valley, Matanuska Valley, and northern Copper River Basin, and much of the central and eastern interior areas, with marginal VFR along the southeast coast as moisture begins to push in there, and Kodiak Island IFR. And for the afternoon, that IFR spreads up across much of the northern panhandle. For the afternoon, marginal VFR on down to Dixon Entrance, IFR, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area, and possibly into the eastern Turnagain Arm locations with IFR along the Arctic coast and a little bit into the North Slope. But the Brooks Range, for the most part, looks VFR tomorrow afternoon, or at least marginal to VFR. And back to the west, holding marginal with the DeLong Mountains, and IFR continues now actually from the north side of the Seward Peninsula through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, becoming marginal for the Pribilofs. IFR, smaller zone there in the southern Bristol Bay area along the Alaska Peninsula, and IFR holds over the western Alaska Range areas. And for the outlook on Saturday, still IFR along the western Alaska Range, a little farther to the north up toward Windy Pass on the southern entrance, and northern Prince William Sound, and over to just about Cordova, IFR from the Kuskokwim Valley, the Kuskokwim Mountains, maybe spilling into the valley there, back to the southwest across the Kuskokwim Bay, Nunivak Island, just north of the Pribilofs, IFR for St. Lawrence Island, IFR for the Arctic coast, and pretty good VFR holding north of the Alaska Range in the central and eastern interior, and marginal for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and the southeast coast. For Saturday afternoon, IFR northern panhandle and IFR along the eastern North Gulf Coast there from roughly Valdez all the way over to beyond Yakutat, and IFR again for the western Alaska Range area, and part of the Brooks Range, northern Koyukuk, Kobuk Valley, southern slopes of the Brooks Range, central areas, and IFR for the northern Bering Sea, Norton Sound, much of the Seward Peninsula, northward to, say, Kivalina or so, up to Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, and then marginal VFR along the Arctic coast. Point Barrow could be IFR at times. Eastern Arctic coast, though, not looking too bad, and the Bering Sea, mostly marginal for the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island again. For Friday, Anatuvik, marginal VFR, also for Adigan, and Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR, rainy, marginal, windy, mostly VFR, will be VFR for Isabel and Mentasta, and Tanita, possible marginal VFR in the eastern approach, otherwise VFR, and for Portage, IFR, Chilcoot and White, VFR becoming IFR, freezing levels, really warm air aloft there with that southerly flow in the upper ridge just to the east of the Panhandle, 12 to 14,000 feet, cooler air at 4,000 feet sneaking into northern Cook Inlet to the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, and not much gradient out west there at all compared to the eastern Gulf of Alaska area, and icing, considerable moderate rime there with the moisture moving into the Panhandle and also into the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, up into the southwestern Copper River Basin, and some areas of considerable moderate there along the western Alaska Range to the Aleutian Range area, and then kind of thinning out as you head west. And the jet stream showing strong southerly jet, 140 knots right into the eastern North Gulf Coast, and southeast 70 knots over the southwest interior. And then the whole jet stream curves up over that ridge, poking up into the Yukon and the northeast part of the state, and 100-knot winds out over the western Aleutians from the west-northwest. 9,000 feet, southerlies, 55 to 65, up to 70 knots there just north of Yakutat, 65 knots over the Kuskokwim Valley, northern Kuskokwim Valley, and 3,000 feet, strong winds again, low pressure pulling up into Bristol Bay, and 60 to 70 knots southerlies turn southeasterly and 70 knots right into Prince William Sound, east 45 over the southwest part of the state and the Panhandle. That translates into a considerable moderate chop there along the North Gulf Coast, up across the Kenai Peninsula, northern Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, and parts of the southwest interior.
I'm a little star geek, not a lout. This is my handle, this is my spout. If you're gonna look south, you'll see me shout. Just tip me over and pour me out. Trace here, stargazers, and this week you can spot the infamous asterism of a teapot in the southern sky. The first thing you're going to spot is Jupiter. It is so bright right now, and in fact, if you look to the right of it, you're going to get the ringed planet of Saturn too. Either way, down to the right of Jupiter is a set of 4 very faint stars. That is the handle of our teapot. I'll just draw it up there for you. Boom. Okay, with a little imagination, you can enjoy watching it pour tea on the tail of Scorpius the Scorpion. And if you're somewhere really dark, the spout of our teapot aligns with the Milky Way, which is excellent because unlike Captain Picard, I do take milk in my tea. Make some Earl Grey hot and pop outside so you can keep looking up.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining me once again is Cindy Preller. She is the Tsunami Program Manager for the National Weather Service in Alaska region. Thanks for joining us again, Cindy.
Thank you, Dave.
We're talking about tsunami awareness and safety here in Alaska especially, and one of the things that has been one of your main focuses is the Tsunami Ready program. What is that, and how do Alaskans find out more?
Awesome. Yeah, Tsunami Ready is a National Weather Service hosted program in partnership with Storm Ready.
Okay.
And it is a program that we conduct with our partners in the state, but it's mostly community driven. So if a community wants to become Tsunami Ready, well, the first thing they need to do is get a hold of me or their local WCM at a weather forecast office or their tsunami team at the state level.
So, and this is something that's a NOAA grant, so there's money available to help encourage the preparedness at the local level there in the city or the village.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that have done this already?
Oh, our oldest Tsunami Ready city is Seward,
Good.
you know, but also Sitka, Homer, Valdez are the, you know, the main players, but we've got several Tsunami Ready communities that I'm very proud of. It takes several years to accomplish this. And so a few of the things that they do is the tsunami risk will be assessed by someone like me or another scientist will help find out, you know, really what their probability is. We'll create an inundation map, an evacuation map. They'll have a mitigation plan. We will set up some partnerships with the schools, make an evacuation shelter, and then they need to practice. But it is the city that owns the program, really. It's up to them. And many cities would like to have sirens, and so we help them get those, and, you know, and they practice, they have to practice.
Sure. So let's say I'm driving into a place like Seward that's tsunami ready. What are some of the things I should look for as maybe a visitor so I know maybe where I need to go or can be more aware of my tsunami risk?
Absolutely. The Tsunami Ready signage is really blatant. It's this, you know, blue and white curling wave sign, and there's different shapes of signs that'll show you if you are in the hazard zone or where the evacuation routes are and when you're out of shelter.
Okay. So this is a multi-step process that helps the residents be more aware of their own risk, but then also prepare for when that risk arrives.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, many communities sound their sirens daily, some sound them weekly, you know, to make sure everybody knows what they mean. And there's often drills. We have an annual drill once a year. We have Tsunami Awareness Preparedness Week, and that's a good time for each community to do some exercising.
Okay. And is this a program that is unique to Alaska?
Absolutely not. It's national.
Okay.
And all over the country, you'll have the same signage, so it's consistent.
Good. So if I'm taking the kids to California, I should be able to see something familiar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, some communities hesitate because they think it'll discourage tourism. And so I would like to tell those communities that what they're actually doing is they're encouraging responsibility.
Sure.
The tsunami's going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to hit every coastline. So, you know, it's not about when, it'll be any time. So the fact that they're showing tourists that they are making steps to be prepared for this, I think would encourage people to want to stay there.
Right, and that would be no different than, say, you or I visiting the Midwest, where we know there's going to be really bad thunderstorms and maybe there's a risk for tornadoes. We're aware of that risk when we go there.
Absolutely. If I see a sign for a tornado shelter, I'm going to remember that.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're just doing a better job of being more prepared with something that's bound to happen again.
I hope so.
Okay. Very good. Where can people go again to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program here in Alaska?
Well, one, there is a Tsunami Ready website. So, just Tsunami Ready,
Google
and that'll
Tsunami
get you
Ready.
there.
Okay.
And then probably the best person for people to contact is their warning coordination meteorologist at their local weather forecast office, which is Anchorage or Juneau, most likely.
Okay. All right. So most of the folks along the Bering Sea coast, again, are not at a huge risk for tsunamis.
No, they don't need to worry about it.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. But always learning to be prepared no matter where you are in Alaska, no matter what the risk, always a good step. And tsunami is a major player in that, as we well know from events like 1964.
Alaskans are resilient. I really believe in them.
Very good, very good. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us again, and please make an effort to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program in your village and town if you haven't already. We'll be back with Cindy again next time to talk more about the Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. We actually have a group of geologists working for the National Weather Service, so scratch your head on that one and we'll join you next time. See you next time on Alaska Weather Packs.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Taking a look at the coastal water forecast there for the southeast coast. On the south coast, south to southeast, 25 knots. Good for small craft advisories. Got gales on the north coast for southeast winds sustained 25 knots with seas up to 17 feet. Clarence Strait, southeast 25 for small craft advisories there, but just 15 knots out of the south and southeast for the central and northern inside waters. And the outlook for the first day of the weekend, we've got variable winds 5 to 10 knots there for the central and southern southeast coast on the inside waters, and Lynn Canal south at 10. Lighter winds on the south coast there for the panhandle, southwest 15, 13-foot seas, and south 20 knots with 14-foot seas on the north coast. And tomorrow for the, we got high-end gales and minimum storms in the forecast with the storm warnings around Middleton Island. Storm warning in Prince William Sound, east 50 knots, seas 12 feet, east 50 knots on the Barren Islands, and southeast 45 for the western North Gulf Coast and the Barrens with 26-foot seas, and gales for Kodiak Island, northeast 40 to 45 knots, strongest south of the Foreland, seas running 16 to 18 feet. And taking a look at Saturday, lighter winds come back into the picture here. Southeast 15 to 20, still a little breezy for Cook Inlet, but not like tomorrow. And southeast 20 for the Kamishak Bay area. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast, and winds come down to 20 knots there for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Prince William Sound, east 20, seas 4 feet. Kodiak Island, gale warnings tomorrow. Southerlies at 35 knots there up the east side of the islands, and Chillicothe Strait east 35 knots. And Sitka Castle Cape, southwest 35. The Alaska Peninsula, westerlies 30 knots, east 30 knots for Bristol Bay with seas at 5 feet, running 8 to 14 feet for the Alaska Peninsula, highest on the Pacific side of the peninsula. And for the outlook on Saturday, Kodiak Island, winds coming down a fair amount there. Southerlies 15 for Chillicothe Strait, otherwise 20 knots with 13-foot seas. And for the Alaska Peninsula, south to southeast, 20 knots. Same thing for Bristol Bay with 20-knot winds out of the south there and seas at 6 feet. Moving on to the eastern Aleutians, Unalaska, or actually the Fox Islands combined, both Nunmac and Unalaska, westerlies 20 to 25 knots, seas 5 to 9 feet. West-northwest, 20 knots for Adak and Atka with 5 to 7-foot seas, 15 knots out of the northwest for Amchitka. Shimmy and Attu, Kiska Island, north 20, seas 6 feet. And then for Saturday, we've got small craft advisories for the western Aleutians there, northwest 25 knots, seas 10 feet, and the northwest 20 knots for the central areas, Adak and Atka, as well as Amchitka, northwest 20, seas 7 to 8 feet. Nunmac Island, west-northwest, 15 to 20 knots. Unalaska Island, even lighter, south or west-southwest at 10 to 15. And for the southwest coast, strongest winds, small craft advisories will be along the Kuskokwim Delta coast, south of Nunivak Island, northeast 25, just southeast of 10 for the Pribilofs. And the remainder of the areas, the northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, all northeast 20 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas, with the exception of 10-foot seas for St. Matthew Island. Outlook for Saturday, north 30 knots, especially the western side of the St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, the Yukon Delta coast, northwest 15, south 20, the Kuskokwim Delta coast, south 10 for the Pribilof, small craft advisories, north 25, St. Matthew Island. And for the eastern Boulevard Sea coast, small craft advisories, 25 to 30 knot winds with 6-foot seas, and small craft advisories extend to the central coast as well with 6-foot seas. And then fall back to 15 knots on the west side, and then pick up a little bit more to 20 knots from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales from the northeast with 4 to 5 foot seas. And for Saturday, Wales up to Cape Thompson, north 25, small craft advisories there. Otherwise, light easterly winds at 10 knots on the western Arctic coast, and then east 15 on the central coast, turn south to southeast 15 knots, seas running 5 to 6 feet on the east side. And for tonight, again, high pressure building in or holds over the Panhandle and over the eastern interior. But tomorrow, that low pulls back to the northwest there in toward Togiak Bay. The front weakens. The gale and storm force wind associated with it will gradually diminish, and rain will spread over all the way to the southern Panhandle and into Dixon Entrance, with the heaviest rainfall amounts on the north coast, moderate to heavy rain on the north Gulf Coast. And again, flood watch is out for the Kenai River, Kenai Lake there in the Kenai Peninsula, beginning tomorrow night into Saturday. Otherwise, the interior will see another dry and mild day.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.